and school to shopping and events, there is a huge variety of reasons to travel into downtown Pittsburgh. However, the issue of getting into downtown seems to be one that no traveler can avoid. Driving carries its own issues of parking and traffic concerns, while the alternative, public transit, often lacks reliability and access. However, a new vision for the future of Pittsburgh and new expansions are set to change the way that travelers can benefit from a public transit system.
Nearly 200,000 travelers take advantage of the Port Authority transit system daily, depending on the network of bus routes and light rail lines to get them where they need to go. However, Pittsburgh's public transit system still lacks the access and range needed to offer a true alternative to all commuters, leaving many in the need to travel by car. Car travel carries a list of issues on its own, especially in some of the infamous hotspots for traffic in and around the city. Tunnels and bridges in every direction cause massive backups, while gridlock inside the city is all too common. The trouble doesn't end there, as parking is always at a premium in the downtown area, with costs as high as $13 a day in some lots. But beyond those who live close enough to their destinations to walk or bike, public transit is really the only other choice. The demand for better routes, better access, and more reliability is there, and recent updates are working toward providing for that demand. But a stigma revolves around the Port Authority that prevents many commuters from putting their faith in public transit.
It's nice if I'm going out to meet friends or whatever when I don't have a time limit, but I would never trust it to be at a destination by a certain time. They're kind of known for being late.
The negatives of the Port Authority and public transit in general are hard to ignore, and many would rather deal with the struggle of driving into town instead of the struggle of taking a bus or train.
Some people have just turned away from using Port Authority vehicles and have found some other way to get to where they need to go, and that most likely would be driving an automobile.
Inconsistent service and undependable route schedules are a primary concern, and many commuters do not want to be locked in to a schedule that they cannot control.
Getting to work can be a bit of a struggle sometimes, especially when I work during the rush hours. In the end though, I would rather have my own car to just drive myself to work because I know I'm going to actually get myself there on time because I can choose when to actually leave.
Although bus service can be found at almost every corner in the downtown area, the distribution of stops in suburbs and surrounding neighborhoods of the city are more scarce.
When I lived in Murraysville, it was really difficult just to get into the city. What was normally a 45-minute drive took me 2 hours just to get into town in the morning.
These issues were compounded in 2011 with a major reduction and reconfiguration of service, which eliminated dozens of routes.
The buses are much more crowded today, so it's difficult to get a seat at some times of the day. And at times you might have to even wait for the next bus just because the first one that comes through is so crowded. And so those are real everyday impacts that riders in our system have been experiencing since 2011.
This was coupled with an increase in fare costs, with individual trips at $2.50 and Zone 2 trips at $3.75. This increased cost means that driving and parking at a lot near the city is about the same cost as a round trip on the bus. The Port Authority found themselves in a difficult situation. Their funding from state and federal governments was being reduced. They had no choice but to make these drastic changes.
Riders have really endured a lot in the last couple of years since we had our service cuts. Mostly what people have found is that they've had to adjust in one way or another.
The public transit system in Pittsburgh leaves much to be desired. But since their low point in 2012, the Port Authority is working to redevelop and realign with a new era for the city.
We're now very hopeful that the state legislation that was just passed that generates transportation dollars into the future will allow Port Authority to revisit these issues in these areas where riders have been experiencing these difficulties. And these are areas where there is a high demand for transit.
These new plans for the future fall under the Transit Development Plan designed in 2010. The TDP is working as an outline to update and improve public transit on many different fronts.
It's really the first time in Port Authority's history that it looked at all of its routes from top to bottom and tried to figure out if we were running as efficiently as we possibly could, and how could we improve service throughout our system. You have 3 or 4 routes serving one area of the county, but they don't offer the best frequency on each route. How could you combine them into one route and offer more frequency throughout the day so it's more reliable. The things that we were able to achieve through the Transit Development Plan, which is really ended for us, is that we were able to restructure and realign some service in the county so that we created more dependable transit arteries for people.
Although in the planning phase for over a decade, the North Shore Connector serves as one of the most visible improvements. This brought the T light rail network into the North Shore, connecting the city and southern neighborhoods of Pittsburgh to massive event spaces like Heinz Field and PNC Park, as well as thousands of additional parking spaces.
There are two agreements right now that cover the cost of the rides on the extension of the light rail system to the North Shore. So there's an agreement in place to cover rider fares at Northside Station, and that runs into 2015. The agreement is with the Sports and Exhibition Authority and also Alco Parking. The second agreement is for free fares at Allegheny Station, and that also runs into 2015, and that is with essentially the Steelers and Rivers Casino. And so that's how we're able to provide that service free of charge to those stations and essentially the North Shore Connector portion of the light rail system.
A free ride from the North Shore to the edge of the free zone in town has helped to build more traffic, but when the rates return to their normal 250, the convenience could once again be outweighed by the cost for many commuters.
Because of the popularity, there is also a demand there for sponsorship opportunities. You might have more people now interested in the potential of sponsoring the free fare agreement beyond 2015. People really weren't quite sure how it was going to be used, how popular it was going to be, what kind of ridership we'd see on it. But now that those questions are answered, all of those things have the potential of extending the free fare agreement.
Support for the rest of the system can be found in renovations and updates to the Port Authority fleet. Hundreds of new buses have been added to replace outdated units, and the number of articulating buses has steadily climbed in recent years, providing more space for riders while still being able to navigate most of the region's tight streets and corners. These new buses are also packed with new technology that makes it easier for commuters to simply jump on a public transit vehicle instead of going through the process of digging out fare money and finding a stop.
People are accepting the Connect card. They've transitioned over. Most of our pass holders have all now converted over to Connect card and they're using it, and it's a really great system. It makes boarding a lot easier. It's a lot faster, smoother. Not people fumbling for change and folded up dollar bills. Going forward, it's going to be even easier once we start the online system. You'll be able to recharge your card from your home computer or your tablet or iPhone.
But if they had that web card available, I think that it would be very efficient and nice to have. It'd be really nice if I'm stuck somewhere, if I can just transfer money on my phone or on a computer to get home. That would be really convenient.
The immediate future of the Port Authority has a focus on these relatively small yet important improvements that will work to make daily commutes simpler and easier. However, infrastructure and new expansions are a major part of the long-term vision for public transit in Pittsburgh. Plans for a bus rapid transit line have recently been drafted that would create designated lanes for buses on the busiest routes.
We're looking at with bus rapid transit is the corridor between downtown and Oakland. This is the busiest corridor in our system. It has the heaviest bus ridership in our system in that corridor. So what we're looking at is from roughly the Pitt CMU area of Oakland into downtown, loop around and go back out, but with far fewer stops. The total travel time from end to end would be much less than if you boarded a regular 61 or 71 route today. Have sort of that light rail feel to them, that you're getting on, you're traveling a lot faster, you're not stopping as many times. The buses would look a little bit different than the other buses. We really need to settle on how much of that we're going to put into place and what the stations might look like, where the stations would go, what kind of vehicles we're going to use. And then, how much can we spend on this? We need federal grant dollars to be able to do that. And so what's the likelihood there for us, and what does that allow to occur here in Pittsburgh?
The city is once again becoming a hub of culture, events, and travel. The demand for reliable public transit is there, and the future is hopefully bright for the public transit system in the region, with improvements across the board on the horizon.
The transportation bill that just passed was so central to everything that happens at Port Authority for not just the next year or 2 years, but for the next 5 years and beyond 5 years. Be smart about the decisions we make so that service makes sense in 10 years and people aren't looking back over the last decade and saying, what were they thinking 10 years ago? They had this great opportunity and they didn't take advantage of it. So we want to make good decisions now about service and about future projects to get them going, to get them on the right foot, right out of the gate.
The coming years will decide if setbacks and budgets will stagnate innovation or if the Port Authority can update and renovate, bringing new travelers into the city and making the daily life of a Pittsburgh commuter a little bit simpler.
With a stable budget, with stable funding, it really allows you to do that, because otherwise that's all you're focused on is next year's budget. We can look at 5 years and 10 years and 20 years and make smarter decisions today.
Pittsburgh has some exciting new developments to make living and being downtown a little more attractive. But what about the living arrangements themselves? Downtown has a variety of places to make into a home, so what is hindering people from moving in? Although the overall population of the city is decreasing, the number of people moving downtown is increasing. So what is encouraging them to move in now?
The downtown area has long been the center of transportation, business, and entertainment for the city of Pittsburgh, but it hasn't been the center of places to call home, that honor increasingly belonging to the suburban areas from the collapse of the steel industry until recent years. Pittsburghers have a variety of reasons not to call downtown home, but that seems to be changing if we take a look at the progress that has been made in just the past few years.
7 years ago, we made a kind of a dive into downtown. We were traditionally a suburban developer of residential and office and retail. But about 7 years ago, we saw an opportunity and a shift really nationally to kind of move back to the city. We saw people coming from suburbia back to downtowns. We wanted to turn downtown what was traditionally, a 9-to-5 environment where they rolled the sidewalks up and tumbleweeds blew through the streets after 5 o'clock, and make it something that's more 24/7. So that was really our key first. Investment in downtown was Pyatt Place.
Until fairly recently, there has been a limited number of living spaces, and most of what has been available has been upscale apartments or pricey condominiums. There has been a lack of affordable spaces for the average Pittsburgh area resident to call home. But there has been a boom both in the number of units and the variety of them. There are still plenty of luxury condos available for purchase by those who want them, but the trend downtown Pittsburgh today, among all groups, from young professionals to families, is to rent.
Empty nesters and young professionals. Those are the majority of people. But the really unique and cool thing that I'm seeing is people that were in our building 7 years ago that were single, now they're having kids and they're shacked up with someone else and they're married. So you're seeing these families be built out of what was traditionally young professionals, and now they're building their families in downtown. And I think we are starting to see more input and more interest from families and interested in moving in downtown. We need to get downtown to really make it there. It's funny though, now you see a lot of strollers. You see a lot of folks pushing strollers in downtown. And that's a pretty cool thing to see.
And that trend is only growing thanks to more affordable options all around the city.
I think that's where that magic formula is, and that's what we're trying to focus on in our next few projects. It's finding a way to deliver smaller units that are less expensive on a monthly basis that can attract the younger people and people that are fresh out of school and even in school.
As of the 2010 census, there were just under 4,000 people living downtown. Now there are over 7,000. People are moving into the new developments as fast as they are being built. Downtown apartments have about a 95% occupancy rate.
We converted this old government building into a thriving 218-unit apartment building right here on Point State Park. Right now we sit with this building being 98% occupied, and we have some of the best rates in the city in the building. The only thing keeping a huge amount of people from downtown likely is inventory. There's not a whole lot of inventory available right now although there are 2,000 units in the pipeline. So I think when those are delivered, they're going to be absorbed pretty quickly. I don't really think much is keeping people from downtown. Everyone says, well, maybe a grocery store, but we're getting that now. We have a grocery store coming to Market Square that should be open within a year. I do think that we have to find a place where we can develop units and people can spend less than $1,000 a month and be able to live downtown. I think if you do that, it's going to open up the floodgates, right? Because there's obviously more people that want to spend $1,000 a month than want to spend $2,000 a month. So I think if we can find a way to make that magic formula work, where you could live in downtown and be in a unit and be in that unit for less than $900 to $1,000 a month, that would be the key, because that's going to get tons of people on the streets.
There are now 2,262 units in the downtown area, with nearly 1,000 more in progress.
The next phase after that is the redevelopment again of another department store, the failed Saks department store. And we're taking that building down. We're coming out of the ground with new retail, parking, and then we have a future residential tower that's going to go above that. So we really think that that's really what has changed downtown over the last several years, is kind of this residential renaissance that's occurred. And we're super proud to be part of it, and glad to be one of the pioneers, along with PNC and some of the other developers like Pittsburgh History and Landmarks, and frankly, Point Park in general. We're partners with Point Park in their Academic Village project.
Clearly, the tide is turning. Between developments that will make residential life easier and better, the growth of business and relative stability of the job market, and the boom in living spaces themselves, now seems to be the time to make a home in downtown Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh has always had some great positives. We've always had a great cultural district, because of our foundation and our nonprofit strength in the city. So I think that had already existed. You also had the sports. You have the Heinz Field, you have PNC Park, and you have the new Consol Arena. So you have the sports, you have the entertainment, and now you have dining, which is amazing. I mean, 40-some restaurants have opened in the last couple of years. They're all unique, so we see this kind of, restaurant renaissance now, right, occurred in downtown. And the city's being completely redeveloped. It's really amazing. So I think you're seeing, 140,000 people work every day that traditionally had to drive into work. They're tired of that commute. The average American spends 2 weeks a year in their car. Imagine that. That could be time you could have spending with your family, with your friends out eating and enjoying each other. Instead, a lot of people sit in their car. I think people are realizing that that's not a good way to spend their time, and frankly, their money. Bringing people back into the city, I think, is sustainable, and it's going to last a long time. And it's a throwback to the way it used to be. Not particularly in Pittsburgh. I mean, people did live downtown, but when it got so polluted, they kind of head out for the suburbs. Now we're one of the greenest, cleanest cities in the country, and it's a great opportunity. We have beautiful rivers. We probably have more riverfront than any other city in the country. So it's a great opportunity to redevelop those rivers. And you see people, stand up paddleboarding now on the Allegheny River. That's pretty amazing to imagine that that's occurring in Pittsburgh. Hey, we're bringing people back to the city now. And there's a place for South Point, and there's a place for suburban developments, no question, and we're supportive of that as long as it's done right. But we do feel that there's this national trend towards back to downtown. So we're there. We think the city's there. We think there's only one way to go, and that's to continue to go up. I think we're an opportunity. We have the opportunity as a city to be the poster child for the city that had to reinvent itself. When the steel industry left, and folks like companies like U.S. Airways picked up and left, we had to diversify, and we did. We diversified into eds, meds, technology, and we still have a backbone of manufacturing. And I think there's not a better time to be in Pittsburgh than right now. And living in downtown is a great example of that.
If anyone was on the fence about, not sure if they really want to move downtown, is this the right time, what would you tell them?
Well, if I was in the right, if someone is in the right time of their life, I would do it, and I'd do it right now. And I would rent, try it out, check it out for a year. If you don't like it, you don't have to stay downtown, but at least try, at least say you did it. We see people who wanted to start out for a year and they're buying now, because there's no other way, there's no other place they'd rather be. And I really think in the next 5 to 10 years, we could have 20,000 people living in downtown. It would be the only place for a young professional or an empty nester to be. because there's so many amenities within walking distance. Why get in your car and have to drive 20 minutes to do everything you want to do when you could just walk? Right. And we think that's going to make a lot of sense. You know, traditional Pittsburghers are used to suburbs, you know, and I think once that becomes ingrained that downtown is the place, and I think it is now, that there's not going to be many other options. Unless you want to go raise a family in the cul-de-sac, of course.
Though grocery stores may be far and few between downtown Pittsburgh, finding a bite to eat before hitting the theater may be a much easier find. Pittsburgh is one city that is constantly looking to improve and enhance its arts, entertainment, and cultural scene, with numerous theaters, restaurants, and art displays. The city's cultural district is a great example of how these improvements have greatly impacted downtown living.
The Pittsburgh Cultural District has not always been the vibrant and lively arts and entertainment scene that we know it to be today. To create this diverse destination, the Cultural District had to undergo a very vast and extreme transformation.
Going back into the mid-'80s, Pittsburgh had sort of fallen on some hard times in terms of transition from a steel industrial center to recreating itself. The Cultural Trust was actually a vision of Jack Hines, of the Hines family, who saw the opportunity for urban renewal to occur through the arts. At that time there was one performance hall, what is today Hines Hall, where the Pittsburgh Symphony performs, and all of the great work that was done here, whether it was the ballet or opera, Civic Light Opera, shared the space with Hines Hall. At the same time, the Cultural District, as it is called today, which is Liberty Avenue, Penn Avenue, kind of that corridor, was the red light district. The vision was to clean up the red light district and turn it into a cultural district.
Many people used to avoid going to most areas downtown because of its red light district and its seedy nature, meaning that most Pittsburghers didn't utilize any of the space between Hines Hall and the David L. Lawrence Convention Center, which is why Jack Hines took it into his own hands to create a change. While bringing a whole new light to Pittsburgh's downtown area, Hines also wanted to enhance a lot of the architecture that was already in place.
Buildings we're in today are from the 1860s. They were the home to what we like to call noxious uses, a massage parlor, adult bookstores. The hallmark in the very first project, and quite frankly why the Trust as a separate organization, nonprofit, was formed, is the Benedum Center. The Benedum Center was originally built in the 1920s. It is a beautifully, historically restored entertainment palace, if you will. It was the home of many rock acts and kind of a rock palace. And Jack Hines saw that as such a jewel, and then the Cultural Trust lovingly restored it. It took about 2 to 3 years. And today it's the 6th busiest theater in the United States.
The Benedum Center was restored under strict guidelines to look exactly as the Stanley Theater did on its original night, so that today it is registered with the National Register of Historic Places.
Another fantastic venue in the Cultural District is Hines Hall. Historic. It was the old Lowe's Theater here in the city. It was shut down, it was run down, and then they came in and they fixed it up, and they put, if you've been inside, they put all this gold leaf on it, and it's just pretty, and it sparkles, and all the chandeliers that are in there, and the marble, and the staircase, and you're just overwhelmed by the facade that you don't care.
Similar to the Benedum Center, Hines Hall was restored around the original architecture to keep the history alive and create an incredible home for the Pittsburgh Symphony Orchestra.
The Trust had acquired what today is the Byam Theater.
The Byam Theater is considerably smaller. It's still a professional theater. They still have everything you could think of.
It's a 103-year-old vaudeville house, 1,300 seats. It's used 200 to 250 nights.
Originally built as the Quede Theater and later renamed the Fulton when it became a movie theater, the Trust continues to improve the Byam Theater with the help of its supporters.
My favorite theater in the Cultural District is probably going to be the Benedum Center. Have you seen the chandelier in that building?
My favorite theater is the Benedum Center. I think just because of the history, the memories of productions that I've seen there.
Because I just loved it so much. It brought back all those childhood memories.
The Cultural District is equipped with 7 world-class theaters, including the already mentioned Heinz Hall, Benham Center, and Byam Theater, as well as the O'Reilly Theater and the Harris Theater.
The Trust built the O'Reilly Theater, which is the home of the Pittsburgh Public Theater today, the Harris Theater, which is a movie theater the Trust purchased and redeployed. When all these theaters are active on a night, which happens quite often, we can have 12,000 people downtown in a very compact footprint. People really feel like they are somewhere. And we're also trying to make this a destination. The ideal thing would be that people don't have to buy a ticket and plan, that they would come to the district and happen upon entertainment, whether it's buskers or animation in Katz Plaza. We do free jazz in the summertime there. And so it's not just the opera and ballet and Broadway and symphony. People tend to think of the big players, but we need all of those other artists and organizations as well.
Some of the other member companies of the Cultural District include the Pittsburgh Ballet Theater, Pittsburgh CLO, Pittsburgh Opera, Pittsburgh Public Theater, Pittsburgh Symphony, and the August Wilson Center for African American Culture.
The Trust believes firmly in a very active visual arts program. The first was Wood Street Galleries, which at the time was really one of the first experiments of art in a public transportation facility. Since then, we've added Space Gallery, which showcases really local artists, a street-level beautiful facility. We do quarterly gallery crawls where all of the Trust visual arts galleries are open. 707, 709 Penn, 2 other small galleries.
They have the interactive part of the art that is the Cultural District.
There are over a dozen art galleries available in the heart of the Cultural District, with a few being awarded for their talented local artists. Want to grab a bite to eat or buy a new outfit before the show tonight? Not a problem. The Cultural District has over 90 retail shops and 50 dining establishments that are sure to fulfill all your needs.
Part of the treasure of Pittsburgh's arts community is the breadth and depth of it. The arts really belong to everyone, and the Trust is very committed to making them welcoming for everyone. Well, some people might say, well, there's just too much to do. I can't go to the symphony and go to the public theater, but that's that vibrancy.
Whether you're looking to relive some childhood memories, enrich yourself in new art, or just get out for a romantic evening, the Cultural District strives to provide outlets for everyone. The transformation of the district has been great at helping to uplift the economy and really bring in visitors from all over.
The Cultural District attracts 2 million people a year, which is actually more than the Pirates, Penguins, and Steelers combined. It shows not only we're a great sports town, because people do think of us as a great sports town, but we're a great arts town. The Trust is really just the steward. These facilities really belong to the community.
Although Pittsburghers love the art scene that the Cultural District provides today, one can't help but wonder if this ultimate transformation has any plans for the future.
I think that in terms of expanding the Cultural District, I think that's a question the community together really has to look at.
The Cultural Trust works hard to keep up the appearances and values that have been put in place in the Cultural District.
And we're dedicated to continuing to nurture and incubate, if you will, many arts organizations and artists, because we need all of those pieces to really have this vibrant arts community that Pittsburgh has become.
14 blocks strong, the Cultural District is a sight to see for any out-of-towners as well as native Pittsburghers. So next time you want to add a little spice to your weekend, check out what shows and galleries are open so that you don't miss out on all the historic Cultural District has to offer.
In 2013, Pittsburgh was named one of the best places in the world to visit by NBC's Today Show. The Still City has much more to offer than the many bridges it is known for. From its hometown spirit, fun family activities, elegant hotels, fine dining options, and our pride in our beloved sports team. The city of Pittsburgh is sure to have something to offer tourists of all kinds. And for Pittsburgh, tourism means big business.
The city of Pittsburgh is one that has received many different accolades over the years. The city has been named the most livable city 5 times, but in 2013, the city received perhaps one of the most honorable of accolades when it was named one of the best places in the world to visit. And once in Pittsburgh, there are plenty of things for tourists of all interests to engage in.
We get tons and tons of accolades from the news media because once they come here and visit, they are sold on Pittsburgh.
Known to many as the City of Bridges, Pittsburgh has 446 bridges which beautifully hover over the flowing rivers of the Monongahela River and the Allegheny River, which meet to form the Ohio River. The rivers surround Point State Park, the city's national park. The Point, as it is often called, is home of a beautiful fountain which many tourists venture down to catch a glimpse of. Throughout the year, the Point is the site of many cultural events. 2 of the largest include the Three Rivers Regatta and the Three Rivers Arts Festival.
How many cities have 2 rivers that merge into a 3rd river and have a beautiful park? We're actually the only state park within a city in the United States.
Pittsburgh is also home of the oldest and steepest steel cable cars in the United States. Tourists can take the Duquesne Incline up to the city's Mount Washington neighborhood. There, they can be educated on the history of the inclines and also get a view of the city that is truly a sight to see.
The view from Mount Washington was once voted the most beautiful nighttime view in the United States. So, and when you think about it, you can't really argue with that. You go up to the Point and up to Mount Washington on the incline and you overlook the city on light up night. There's no better view than that.
Pittsburgh is also a fun-filled family destination with tourist attractions such as the Pittsburgh Zoo and PPG Aquarium, the Heinz History Center, Kennywood Park, the Children's Museum of Pittsburgh, Sandcastle, and many more. Pittsburgh has so much to offer families with kids of all ages.
The zoo gets 1 million visitors a year. The Kennywood gets up to 2 million visitors a year. The Heinz History Center is a terrific place to go to learn all about Pittsburgh.
Food connoisseurs are in for quite a treat when visiting the city of Pittsburgh. The city has hundreds of restaurants and eateries of all kinds, from casual dining such as the famous Primanti Brothers to upscale dining such as the elegant Capitol Grill. Food lovers will find it all in Pittsburgh.
We have a lot of restaurants in Pittsburgh and it's basically exploded with new restaurants, terrific chefs coming from all over the world. We have Yves Carew, who opened 4 restaurants in downtown Pittsburgh, Ceviche, Nola, Meat and Potatoes, Justin Severino opened Cure. We have all different types of restaurants from pubs and the Oyster House, our oldest restaurant, and Primanti Brothers, and breweries, brew pubs, all the way to really high class, 4-star, 5-star, terrific places to eat.
We're on our way to Primanti Brothers. I heard that it's one of the best sandwich shops in America, so I'm really excited to go there.
When staying in Pittsburgh, tourists can rest comfortably in some of the best and finest hotels around, specific to style and budget, from rustic inns, bed and breakfasts, lodges, fine hotels, and resorts. There is truly a Pittsburgh hotel for everyone.
I'm actually staying right here at the Wyndham Grand. It's a nice hotel, nice service. Get a view of the whole city, which is really nice. You can see the fountain they have over here.
The city of Pittsburgh is the mecca of many beloved college, semi-professional, and professional sports teams, home of great sports teams such as the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Pittsburgh Pirates, and the Pittsburgh Penguins. Pittsburgh has something to offer sports lovers of all kinds. And with a variety of beautiful newly built sports arenas and fun sports pubs and grills, visitors are sure to have the ultimate fan experience while in the City of Champions.
Steelers, Pirates, and Penguins, and the Riverhounds and Pittsburgh Passion, all of those teams have terrific places to play, and also they're just a great asset to our city. Our universities We have terrific college sports teams. I mean, Pitt is in the ACC. We have Duquesne. We just have Carnegie Mellon. We have 34 universities in Pittsburgh and such great college athletics.
I'm actually an alumni, and I experienced Pitt being in the East for 4 years, so it's a big change. It's very exciting. There's nothing else like it. I mean, a big university, everyone coming together.
Performance arts fans can also expect to be wild when in Pittsburgh. The city's cultural district is booming, hosting some 2,300 dance and theater performances, not to mention the many performances that take place in neighborhood theaters. Theaters such as the Benedum Center, Heinz Hall, and the Byam Theater host world-renowned shows such as the Broadway musical The Lion King, Pittsburgh Ballet Theater's The Nutcracker, and many more throughout the year.
There's 9 theaters. You can go to Improv, you can go to Pittsburgh Public Theater, you can see a Broadway show, you can see a world-class symphony. So they can expect to be surprised at how many things there are to do.
Tourism plays a major role in the economy of Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh attracts more than 10 million visitors to the region annually. Travel to Pittsburgh is a $3 billion industry that provides more than 50,000 full-time equivalent jobs in Allegheny County. So what does tourism really mean for Pittsburgh?
It means $5.3 billion in economic impact. So that means there's 11 million visitors that come into Pittsburgh each year, believe it or not. And they spend $5.3 billion on food, tickets to attractions, retail, transportation. They consume energy, they purchase souvenirs, and all of that money goes into the chain of commerce.
A great tool for tourists hoping to plan a trip to Pittsburgh is visitpittsburgh.com. Visit Pittsburgh is the city's own tourism and promotions agency for the city of Pittsburgh and Allegheny County. Tourists can plan their entire trip on visitpittsburgh.com prior to visiting the city.
First, we have a very up-to-date and exciting calendar of events. So if you're deciding you want to come to Pittsburgh or you're already in Pittsburgh and you want to know what there is to do in the city or in the region, you can go into our calendar of events and you can find out what there is to do that is related to activities, shows, festivals, exhibits that are here. If you feel there's nothing to do in Pittsburgh, you're probably not looking hard enough, because you'd have to tell the thousands of people that you see down here on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night, that you see in the South Side, that you see in Oakland, that you see right downtown in the Cultural District, because it is actually a very, very vibrant place. So what I'd like to see is for Pittsburgh to continue to be a vibrant community, and I'd also like to see more conventions and meetings here, and have people come for business and for pleasure.
The Still City in the past isn't the same city it is today. From the booming tourism, to the new downtown housing, to the recent Hollywood presence, Pittsburgh is on the brink of change, some for the better and some for the worse. We must now find a way to preserve the historic past while embracing a new modern era.
I'm Chris. Anthony Gatos, my wife Linda Gato.
Amy, Rebecca James. Pat Houck.
Edward Smith.
My name is Aaron.
Brian Cafeo.
My name is Zachary Walicki.
My name is Paris Lundy. All our lives.
And 73 years.
73 years.
My whole life, 45 years.
Your whole life?
Yeah.
And I've been here 22 years.
I'm 57 years old. I've been in Pittsburgh all my life.
It's tough to get around.
A lot of construction.
Not quite as friendly as it used to be.
If you make a wrong turn anywhere down here, it spits you onto a bridge that puts you across the river somewhere. That's what bugs me the most. And being that I've been down here still forever, still sometimes it happens, you know?
I would try to get more things for the inner youth, for them to do.
It should be more vibrant all the time.
I would change the school system. Somebody has to take control of it and make sure it's a learning environment. They should not allow
anybody to disrupt the learning process.
Racism, you know, it's going to always be a problem, and a lot needs to be done about it too.
People still think we're a smoky city.
It was a dirty city, smoky city. Now it's a beautiful city.
Downtown Pittsburgh has improved a lot over the years. When I was a young guy, downtown would be a ghost town after 5:30 at night. So I think with all the college life and the young people brought into town, it's a good thing.
I love the city. I like Pittsburgh. It's got a good atmosphere to it. It's got some nasty weather from time to time, but I think that kind of comes with it.
More reasons to come downtown than there used to be.
Stillers.
The theater and the food.
Okay.
It's a great gathering place.
Easy to live here.
The city, obviously, over the course of a few decades, has had huge improvements just in standard of living. They're bringing a lot of good things down to the city, a lot of good opportunities. The sports opportunities here are phenomenal, so the city's getting better and better and better.
I would say growing up here, the biggest changes I've seen is racism has died down a lot. Even though it lingers around still, it's not as bad as it used to be.
My favorite thing about Pittsburgh's definitely the people and my family. And the thing, a little more sunshine. A little more sunshine wouldn't hurt.
Yeah, bring some publicity to the city. All that does is just, brings more people here to see the great things about it.
And it's great for the city, too, the notoriety.
The more the merrier. If they could film one every month in Pittsburgh, bring them in, More jobs, more people, and it's exciting just to be around when they do it.
And it's one of the most beautiful cities in the country. Culture is still here. It's a strong cultural area. That's why we have these boxes marked. Green for the Czech ones, yellow for Slovak, and the red ones are from Polish. Because the people like them from their homelands. And I go and get them. And at Christmas time, if you see the oplatki there, the Eastern Europeans eat that at Christmas Eve. And it's a cultural thing.
I love the bike trails.
The Steelers, man. Die-hard Steeler fan.
It's a small town, big city.
Perfect.
Home, there's nothing like home.
Best kept secret in the country.
Happening.
Small enough to be comfortable and big enough to be fun.
Togetherness.
It's a hard-working city. The opportunities are there. You just got to take them.
It's a little big city not far from home.